Hello everyone, Boy Diablo here, and today I'd like to give some insight into things that get asked, questions get asked about me in comments, and people wondering, trying to figure me out and trying to figure out what I'm up to, what I'm doing. First of all, it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna be able to figure me out. It's too complex. But you can figure out, or I can give insight in this kind of shoot interview out of character. I can give insight into particular aspects of my persona or things I've done, things I do. So it comes to the Boy Diablo character, Boy Diablo. So my name's Derek, and then people growing up, people called me, my first probably nickname that been known up was Skinhead Derek. People, once I became a skin, and then that Skinhead Derek, a lot of people called me that, let's say. And then, believe it or not, 1989, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. I became saved, and it was on acid, and watching Pat Robertson's show, and then it all kind of. I saw the whole thing kind of like my name was Diablo. Boom! I'm gonna be preaching, but I'm gonna be bringing people to Jesus, but coming in the form of the devil or the name of the devil, because the Antichrist comes in the form of a false prophet of Jesus. So those kind of things were going through, and I didn't really know the Bible well at the time. I wasn't raised in the Bible. Since then, I read the Bible cover to cover, read New Testament twice. But so then I knew it was music. I already had music in my head, which ended up being the kind of music I ended up making. Basically, skinhead hip hop, which is to say, like, well, people call maybe rap rock or something like that, mixing the two. And I already had lyrics like going back to 14 years old, going back to like 1988 and so forth. So then Diablo, and then people, my family, I was doing terrible things always as a child and a kid, doing all kind of messed up stuff, getting in so much trouble. And Spanish people, Diablo, like it's an expression, like saying damn. But I would hear it a lot, and I didn't take it that way. I thought they were calling me that, and then Diablito, people would call me that. Es un Diablito, I was getting in so much trouble, hurting other children, all that kind of stuff. So then that's it, boom. Then I started rapping as Diablo D. By that time, by 1990, now I'm rapping at parties and Diablo D. Then eventually, and then people just call me Diablo. Boom. So then let's say that's just my nickname or my name. People call me Moon. A lot of people just call me Diablo. Boom. So then when it comes to the football hooliganism and everything that's going on based on this channel, let's say, even if there's a collection of all my stuff, and so anti-racist skinhead, I'll be coming in 1987. There's a war going on across internationally, but in the state of Florida, and Nazis ruled. There was Nazis all over the state, from top to bottom. But we were in South Florida, and there was little pockets of people anti-racist elsewhere. But I made the choice to be anti-racist skinhead and join this war. 1987. By 1998, I became leader of Fort Lauderdale, and I then unified the entire Tri-County South Florida region, and we used to bang against each other. Anti-racist skinhead gangs used to bang against each other and bang against Nazis. So then what I did is I said, nah, and I had relationships with all the other sets, crews down here. So I said, nah, we're not gonna bang against each other anymore. Now Fort Lauderdale is gonna rule. I'm gonna be the leader of the entire Tri-County, and we'll all collectively bang against all the Nazis, and we'll all join together and go to all the areas where they still exist, and we're gonna run them out of South Florida. And that's what we did over a period of time. Then I said, okay, where there's strongholds in the state of Florida, we were just in South Florida mainly controlling stuff, and we were way outnumbered. There's hundreds of them. Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando. So then I aligned with the lads up there in these different places. My man Jose, Central Florida, his boys. And then we created Florida Sharp. And I said, no, we're going to take the war to the Nazis to where they're at. So started in Orlando. Hammerskins used to rule that. CHS, Confederate Hammerskins. Little by little, we kept coming up there with my guys. The next thing we took it. Bam. Tampa, we had a St. Pete group, but we couldn't take Tampa, but eventually we took Tampa. Then we went up to Jacksonville. You know what I mean? And that was their final territory they had. We took that. So what does it mean, take it? It doesn't mean in my administration, I don't believe in going to people's houses and going to people's jobs. So So basically, it's just like, yo, you ain't get, where Nazis be at is these underground type of music events. That's where but ordinary people might not even know what's going on. So it ended it basically in 2008 was their last stand. I was locked up, but my band Colorblind Cutthroats went to Tampa, and last stand they came and tried to mount the last attack, and they got beat up and got ran. And I'll tell, maybe in the future I'll tell more about that. There's an interesting character that was part of that one. But so then basically I moved forward, and I wanted to build upon what I had done, and I had already been in FSU Nation, fuck shit up, and they were banging against Nazis across the country. So like fast forward to the point of 2011. Now, here's where people are misled, because I go around playing around and I do this debate and make up some other stuff. So what it was I was a victim of police brutality in a serious way. They came against me and it had to do with something that I had got myself involved in a case. It's a long story, but basically I was taking pictures for a fight in a gym school, and then I was a witness to an altercation that happened between police and this other chap who was ex-FBI and all this kind of thing, and basically he drugged me into this situation, listed me as a witness and internal affairs investigation, and they came against me. They came against me, rushed my house illegally, beat the hell out of me, clubs, crushed my thumb, did all type of things that end my career basically in fighting, let's say, and didn't give me medical attention for 10 days and terrible things. So it was in that situation, that in those jail cells, with that type of anger and that sort of helplessness, let's say, and then I knew what anti-fascist action was, right? The name Antifa just started kind of coming out in 2009, so this is 2011. But I knew that Jose was anti-fascist action, and I knew about it from the music because I'm a kid. I seen the logos of the oppressed, Angelic Upstart. So I knew. We had anti-racist action in America. So but I knew what anti-fascist action was. I knew Black Bloc action. I knew what it was. The two weren't considered the same thing yet, like people think. People see people masked up. That's Black Bloc action, but anybody can do Black Bloc action. Nazis do it too. They did it in Ukraine in 2014 when they overthrew the government. They're using Black Bloc action there as well. So anybody can use Black Bloc action. Anti-fascist action is its own thing. Okay, what people call Antifa now. So basically, it was I'm destroyed and sitting in a police cell, and with so much anger and frustration, helplessness, that they wouldn't give me a pencil to fill out medical forms. It was messed up. Florida prison system, jail system is messed up. So the vision started coming to me. Black Bloc action, anti-fascist action, Antifa. And then I started getting these ideas, and then it all started clicking. I started seeing it, and then I started seeing Black Bloc action at the White House. I started seeing the visions of really what ended up happening in a lot of ways. So in my head, I knew, and I started talking to other inmates, about this, that. But Florida's not a place that ever had a big protest movement. The protest movement is Pacific Northwest. There is a protest movement. People that are into protest, professional protesters, you could say, and people that live that lifestyle. And the heart of it is the Bay Area. San Francisco, Berkeley, Oakland. So I come out in 2011, and I hit up leaders of anti-fascist action, and basically saying, like, RASH, Red and Anarchist Skinheads, RASH, that's what really rules, or used to rule, Antifa, which is the most elite division. RASH, Red and Anarchist Skinheads, they're the most extreme, to be a counter to the Nazis, and that's another big story, right? But SHARP is really the main group, Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice. That's the most effective anti-racist skinhead, militant anti-racist group in American history. So, moving forward, so now I come out and I wanted to join, and I wanted to start a chapter, and there was an international vote, and a lot of people voted against me because they said, oh, Diablo's a Stalinist, which I didn't even know what it meant at the time, but then I looked into it, so, okay, well, that's what I am, then I embraced it. But so then I moved to Pacific Northwest, and I became involved in the protest movement. So this is going back, this is now 2013, so I'm living over there. I'm in Oakland, meeting with Black Panthers, BGF, Black Gorilla Family. I'm in Oakland, going to Black Panther Museum. I'm boots and braces, talking about Antifa. I was involved in it. So really where BLM started, even, you know, contrary to what you might hear about this woman who, capitalized on it. It was a Millions March in 2014, you could say, I believe it was. Millions March, and back then, BLM was a chant. Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, but it was an FTP movement. That's what BLM was for. FTP, fuck the police movement. It basically what came out of the LA riots, and basically black gangs joining together and other gangs joining together against the police. That's the essence of what BLM was before it turned into something, you know, before it basically gets hijacked by the liberal politicians and so forth. So at any rate, I'm over there getting involved, learning, being experienced in protests. Then I come back here and basically I organize. There was no Antifa in California when I got there. So little by little I went around and unified it and spread it. It didn't have any respect. South Florida was the strongest one. So then, with that being said, you know, the Nazis, we basically defeated them, and I don't believe in going to houses. So the fact of the matter, they ain't gonna be in our major cities and where we have our shows and everything like that. But you know, do you want to be in their own home? Freedom of speech. I believe in freedom of speech. You want to be in your house? You got swastika tattoos? You believe in that stuff? Fine, whatever. Now you start going out representing it, of course, and spray painting on the walls, doing all this other stuff. Of course, it's gonna attract us. That's it, right? But you know, by 2009, that war was over in Florida. So I expanded. I'm going across the country more, doing other stuff. I'd been around the country already, but that was my ambition at that time. So let's say all that happens, then I start thinking that, I want to be in politics. You know, I want to be in legit politics. Like, I want to run for office and use this for that purpose. Now it's unthinkable that somebody's going to run for office as an Antifa, but at the time, all this other stuff hadn't happened. The FBI and the liberals hadn't taken it over yet, so it didn't have the same negative connotation as what people ended up seeing later. So I ended up joining. I got involved in left wing politics. I was on the Hillary Clinton campaign. I was with the unions. I was doing a lot of stuff. I was moving, and then I was trying to use the anti-fascist action and bring it into a legit political party, and so forth. And then, as many know, by 2000, so this is 2011, beginning 2011, then 2017, then like the Me Too movement had come out and everything. So I ended up getting conflict with the third wave feminists. Basically is what you call them. I call them neo-feminists. I got in conflict with them over this whole Me Too thing and saying that now you gotta believe a woman if she accuses anybody. I'm like, okay, so what? No more rule of law. You're not innocent until proven guilty. All that sort of thing. So from there, I'm like, whatever you. And then they call me misogynist and everything, saying call women bitch. So what? That's how we talk. You know what I mean? Well, so okay, so you're gonna trip on me about misogyny, but you're gonna march around the street singing NWA songs. You listen to gangster rap and glorify rappers that are straight misogynistic lyrics, but then it's an issue for me, and none of you have even seen a Nazi. None of you have even, let alone fought or been a prisoner, get in jail for it. So that's why I said, okay, I'm out of this. Like as far as the organized movement and stuff, my thoughts, my beliefs. But I'm like, I'm the OG of this. I'm an OG. I put in work. I've been fighting this thing since 1987. And you all just come around and you just found out about Antifa on the internet, and now you're gonna tell me what's what, and you're gonna also try to ostracize me for the movement. But none of the, I told all the other leaders, y'all fight any of the other leaders, and nobody, nothing. So I was like, whatever. So then the end of 2017, I need to be obsessed with something. I'm an obsessive type of person, and I live for things, and I dedicated my whole life to this, and now it's like these new people coming around claiming to be anti-racist and claiming to be anti-fascist, and they're just an extension of the liberal government, let's say. And then it's like this whole thing I fought for and sacrificed, and me and my friends and everything that we did. They're going to pretend like they're the anti-racist movement, and then it's just like my story is not going to get told. So that was one thing that bothered me personally, and it still bothers me because people going around talking about anti-racist, you don't know anything about it. How are you not going to talk about who started it? How are you going to talk about Antifa and you don't know who started it? You don't know where it came from. Skinheads. Skinheads fighting other skinheads. Nazi skinheads, anti-racist skinheads. That's the militant anti-racist movement. End of. We're the godfathers of it. And whoever's calling themselves anti-racist now, they're a bunch of racists. Because they're racialists. They believe in stuff like whiteness and blackness. If you believe in whiteness and blackness, That's racialism. Not even, you don't just merely believe in race theory, which is already a social construct, as they said. It's not scientific. Race is misinformation. It's not scientific. So, by not only using race theory, but then ascribing attributes. Formerly, that was only the KKK and David Duke and Nazis that did that. Talking about blackness and whiteness as if these things really exist beyond in your mind. So that's racialism. So that's straight up anybody who's using those terms, whiteness and blackness, is racist. You're a racialist. I see a racialist and a racist is one and the same. Going on. So then I'm frustrated and what has always been in my head, hooliganism, football hooliganism. And then eventually the casual scene was in the back of my head. And then it ended 2017, let's say, and then I knew that we were going to get a football club into Miami. It hadn't been confirmed yet, but I knew it. I knew it before anybody else did, let's say. I knew it. I knew it was going to happen in my head, right? So, end of 2017, now I had ordered the Casuals book by Phil Thornton, so-called Casuals Bible. And before I was done reading it, bomb. I'm saying, I'm going to be Casuals, Miami Casuals. Move from skinhead style fashion into the casual scene. I wasn't thinking hooliganism because it didn't exist in America. I thought at the time. I didn't realize how much really it did exist. So I moved from the skinhead fashion into the casuals fashion, let's say, that's how I dress. Sure, I wear boots and braces sometimes. Skinhead, I deck out skinheads as well. But casuals, football casual fashion is my fashion. And it's become that, and I enjoy it. I enjoy wearing the clothes. I enjoy collecting the clothes. So, the clobber. So then in my head, okay, I'm a casuals now. I move into it. I evolve. And that's how it happened in the past. People were skinheads and boot boys, and then one summer, the whole mob becomes casuals. It happened overnight in some places, let's say. And these two guys were all skins before that. And that's a whole story of how casuals evolved from skinheads. The police and the Heysel disaster and so forth, so that's a whole other topic to get into, but it's the same thing everybody else did that started casual scene. They evolved from skinhead boot boy gangs. So then, by the beginning of 2018, now it's on. Miami Casuals. That's in my head. We're the first supporters group for Into Miami, which is even if it's unofficial, all casuals groups and hooligan groups are unofficial. They're not part of the team. So I'm the first one claiming it. And then that's, people, you don't even have a football team. But I knew it was coming. So then I was just into the casuals thing as a fashion. And I was on an American group and casuals group. And I started claiming buying the casuals. And there's a lot of British guys. And they all started tripping on me, talking shit. You this, you that, you that. I'm like, what, man? And then basically in America, all the other people like, no, like they knew who I am. You know what I mean? They weren't people like, why aren't you guys wanting to do this to him and that to him? And they're like, you don't know this guy. You don't know who he is and you don't know what he's done. He's playing around with you online. So then when so many people threatening me and coming against me and talking shit about Miami, talking shit about America, talking about my country. Well, I said, oh, it's like that. Okay, hooligan. Into Miami firm. Then I came out with that. So it started by Miami Casuals, and I was just talking about really the fashion and the subculture. And then it come to people coming against me, threatening me and talking shit. So retaliation, I said, okay, well, Into Miami firm. What's up? You know what I mean? Forest fighting. We'll fight your other firms that way, blah, blah, blah. I'll come to England. I'll fight top boy of all your firms. What's up? Loser. You shake hands, buy a beer afterwards. That was how I came out. And obviously I went to England, but I went with lads I was friends with in Plymouth. But I still went around by myself, Millwall, London, went around all kind of places publicly. So then, let's say, now we're talking 2018. So I'm online and bantering and da-da-da. Then I get into Steve Dolan's group. That weasel Steve Dolan, fantastic Steve Dolan, fantasy man. He got the football firm's Piss Up. That's one of the biggest hooligan groups in the world. So basically I've been getting threatened on this other American group and then challenged to fight, da-da-da-da. And then I'm saying, and then it's like, okay, the guys come, we're coming, we're going to fight you. We want to fight you 3-on-3 in Orlando, blah, blah, blah. Who is it? And then Millwall. Oh, great, man. The top or hardest, whatever, in my mind at the time, firm. And now that's our first beef. Wow. So then Steve Dolan has multiple accounts. Then he hits me up on a different account, personal, and it has his face. And it has, at this time, he was false flagging that he's the top boy at Millwall. He's in a book Like in Russia, he goes around in Bulgaria and all these places selling hooligan stuff and portraying himself that he's a boss of Millwall when he's actually from Scotland, but they don't know the accents. So he's in the book. I see a quote of him in the book. You know, we Millwall will attack any other supporters from any other club. And he's talking as Millwall. He's from Scotland. So he's going on talking as his Millwall. Millwall didn't know how to get to him. So bottom line is, next thing he hits me up and he's like, "Oh, you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right." And then he's like, he's being friendly with me. So then I said, "Listen, mate, I'm into pro wrestling. I don't know if you're into pro wrestling, because pro wrestling is really what's always driven me my whole life. The first thing I was into was Monsters. Next thing I was into was pro wrestling. That's the first kind of magazines I ever bought. So I've been always guided by pro wrestling psychology. And I became pro wrestler in 1998 under Rusty Brooks, rest in peace, who was under Eddie Graham, Florida Championship Wrestling, and Eddie Graham said, "Make it real." So everything I do with it, Florida Champion, with the hooliganism, it's hard to understand, but it's a product of pro wrestling psychology. I didn't watch sports really. I was into martial arts and pro wrestling. I watch pro wrestling still. I don't actually watch the game of football, but I turn up to matches. I'm in the culture of it, but I don't follow it. I follow wrestling more than I follow football, soccer, right? So then, as I'm talking with Steve Dolan, I said, "Listen, what I want to do is make a professional hooligan fight, 10-on-10 pay-per-view. Right? Miami versus Millwall." He says, yeah. He's speaking as the boss of Millwall, winding me up. It's a wind-up, yeah? But then I say, "Okay, so here's what you do. You go to your Millwall pub," which he's not from Millwall, and he's in Scotland, so he couldn't do this. He's pretending. He's false flagging. I say, go in front of your Millwall pub with 10 lads, and this is before the pandemic, obviously, masked up, ballies, and then you in the front, how about challenge us to a 10-on-10 fight? And then, my guys, I'll retaliate with another video, we'll go from there. He goes, "Oh, okay. But my guys won't understand it. So you do it first." So he wound me up to make the first video, which is Miami versus Millwall, who's the hardest. I didn't know it was going to go viral. I didn't know how big it was going to get. It was just a Facebook video in some hooligan group, right? But he put it out there, and with the tone I use, it's a wrestling promo. But the tone I use and stuff, and I use stuff. Breaking down that one promo because that's one of the most powerful promos in history. Wrestling fans sit around watching promos, but this got way bigger than the wrestling audience. So I made this video, and I come back home from the gym, and I start seeing like the views, 5,000. I got my imagine this. I keep refreshing it. There's to be 500 more every second. Like now it's 7,000. I only made the video like 4 hours ago. So I'm almost crying. I made my first proper viral video. I've done other comedic videos, other crazy videos in the past. The Banner Heist, the Brutus Beefcake, and stuff like that. But they were still limited within the hardcore scene, skinhead scene, and underground scene. Now this Millwall video that I made, Miami versus Millwall, who's the hardest, it exploded and went completely viral everywhere, all over England, right? And so I tried to take it down. That's why I made this channel. I tried to take it down on Facebook and then put it up, make a YouTube channel based on the one video, but it was too late. It was already had spread out there, and I don't mind it now that I wasn't able to capitalize on it as such, because it was like a demo. It got me known in UK, which is my goal. The British culture. I've always loved it. I always want to go there. That's the roots of the skinhead movement, punk, and everything. So you can debate whether it's from New York or London, but either way, for me, I was a punk. I became a skinhead. I grew up in hippie movement around British culture. So now it's like now the Sun does a story on me. The Sun, The Sun, Daily Star, but I'm not involved. They're just talking about this Miami hooligan. And then the Vice, written by Nick Chester, he approached me wanting to do a story on me for Vice, written story. So I agreed, and that's what started then me getting the opportunity to do the Vice documentary. Then Vice UK became interested in me and wanted to do a documentary. They had stepped to him and asked if he thought that I would do it, and I agreed. And then there was a battle between the U.S. Vice and UK Vice, because the U.S. Vice intercepted and said, no, this guy's from America, it's ours. And they said, no, these UK stories. So they asked me, and I refused to do it with the U.S. So maybe the Vice documentary never would happen, because I refused to do it with the U.S. They would have made it look different. They would have made it look more gang-oriented and stuff like that. And I already know how their approach wanted to be. So I didn't want to come out threatening like that. I wanted it to be a bit more comical and, not fly under the radar, but I didn't want people to take it as a threat. I wanted it to be funny. And so obviously it was. I played it. So now this is where you get the origins of the Boy Diablo character. Because I had been online bantering. And so, yeah, psychedelics were involved. I'm sitting up all night, winding all these people up. We're going to come do this. And Marseilles and what happened. I'm using all the bits. And that could go on and on. I was taking all the bits of the hooligan movies. I had seen every hooligan movie, basically, already a long time ago. I saw ID years and years before I saw Football Factory. I read Among the Thugs. I was well into hooligan culture. ID, I seen the original Firm. So by the time I saw Football Factory, then I started getting more obsessed with it. That's going back to 2006. And I saw all the real Football Factories when they came out. So I was well into it. I knew a lot about it. And then by the time I'm now known, and thousands of people are threatening me, all this kind of stuff is well documented. So I'm online, sitting up all night. I have all this attention, and now I start making more videos, and I'm winding people up. And it's just funny to me. You're winding all these people up. Some people see that and just laugh. And then people are saying, don't you see this guy's using the stuff from the movies? I started saying, okay, right. What about Marseille? What happened in Marseille? You got to find that on your own. I don't got time to talk about that now. 2016, Russian hooligans, annihilated the English hooligans, let's say. Anyway, so I'm now start bringing that up. But what about Marseille? Well, we're going to get revenge. What's up? And then I'm basically saying that right, I'll come to UK with my top firm. I'll take out your top firms and I take us on tour via the Russian. So that's the plot of Hooligan Factory, but it's also the plot of the firm, that the firms are going to come together against the Germans. So I'm using all these bits from all the movies and winding everybody up. And some people are saying, don't you guys see that the guy's using stuff from the movies on us? So then from there, people were calling me Del and Del Boy. And I suppose I'll leave it here. Del Boy, I didn't know who Del Boy was, because we don't have Only Fools and Horses in America. But a lot of British shows, Benny Hill, Young Ones, lots of British shows we had, but Blackadder, Faulty Towers, Mr. Bean. But we didn't have, we still don't have it. Americans don't know what Only Fools and Horses is. They don't know Derek Trotter, Del Boy, Isa. They don't know that. Americans don't know that. So then I don't know why people keep calling me Del Boy and Del and da-da-da. And so Del is short for Derek. The British I love it. They shorten names that aren't even shortening sometimes. So Dezza, Decca, D-E-Z-Z-A, Dez, Decca, D-E-K-K-A, Del, that's all Derek. Decca, Dezza, Dez, Del, that's all Derek. So it took me a while to figure that out. And then it was this Del Boy, and people are liking me a lot. The majority of people are hating on me, but I'm getting a lot of friends also. So people supporting me, smaller firms, saying, "Yo, we're with you, man. Keep it up, keep winding everybody up." They think it's funny, and they like me. So that's how it is in reality. Most people actually like me, but online it's different. So then they tell me this Del Boy. I was like, "Oh, okay." Del Boy. They tell me like, "Oh, this is who they're calling you." So I'm already Diablo from America, skinhead, all the other stuff I'm into. And then I started watching Only Fools and Horses. And then I'm seeing Del Boy. And I didn't know he's a legend yet. To me, he looked like a hapless guy. And they laugh at him. And he's always, thinking he knows how to speak French. And he think he knows this. I thought people, saying he's taking a piss out of him. I thought they were making fun of me by calling me Del Boy. So then I started adopting stuff and using stuff I was seeing in Only Fools and Horses. I'm arguing with one chap, I've done this to many people, arguing with one chap, bantering online, blah, blah, blah. I said, "Yeah, mate, but what about you? I know what happened with you and that rum chap. He showed you that snide statue, didn't he? And you try to confront him in front of the kebab shop and he suplexes you and you walk around, you didn't know what to do, there's footage of it." He's like, "What?" And other people, ha. He's like, "You showed me the footage." "What footage? I didn't get suplexed." Anytime you hear somebody getting suplexed, you gotta wonder if the story's real. But that was a bit I got from Only Fools and Horses. So then I basically married myself, which is my character, let's say, into this Del Boy character that I was watching. And I started following some of his his ways of being, and I saw that they laugh at him and everything like that. But he's kind of slick, and so yeah, the British people, hooligans, called me Del Boy. They taught me who Del Boy is. They taught me Only Fools and Horses, and I married my existing persona with Del Boy, Derek Trotter. And I thought it was all people making fun of me until I was actually in Jersey Island in 2019 when I moved to the UK. I've been in Plymouth, then I go to Jersey Island. And I was walking around the streets, and I heard some boys playing some dubstep, and they were dancing to some dubstep and stuff in the street. I walk over and I started, vibing with them. All right. And they're like, okay, what's up, They heard my voice. They says, oh, yeah, because the way I'm dressed and stuff, they don't take me as an American. They look like any other lad, a boy, casual, you know what I mean? So they say, oh, you're American? I said, yeah. And they say, well, what are you doing here? And I kept talking. My mate Sam, great dude, he says, wait a minute, you're that American. They knew me from the Millwall and the video, and I didn't have the documentary out, but they knew who I was. The documentary had been filmed in February or earlier March, somewhere around there, but it didn't come out till 2019 in December, and I was in London at the time when it came out. So then the guy says, oh, you're that American. You're the hooligan. I said, yes. And then, what are you doing here? Long story short, yeah. And then some other lad comes up, and I introduced myself, Del Boy Diablo. He goes, oh, Del Boy Diablo, that's a name. And then I was talking to the one boy, and they're like, yeah, like kind of talking like I'm talking to you now. But so at this time, I thought it was an insult, kind of, but I played into it. Okay, if that's what you think I am, if that's what I'm supposed to be, I like George Jefferson, I like guys like that anyway. So no problem. I like making people laugh. I always like making people laugh, right? So, voila, Del Boy Diablo. And then I was talking to that chap there, this is 2019, and I says, yeah, I know, I get it, they're taking a piss, out of me, whatever, calling me this Del Boy. He's like, nah, mate. He's like, Del Boy's legend. He's like, he's a geezer. He's not a gangster going out there killing people, but he's hustler and da-da-da. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, mate. He's like, Derek Trotter, he's like, that Del Boy, he's like, that's legend. He's like, it's a Del Boy in every group kind of deal. So I've played into that. And Del Boy, it's hapless. But, he always comes up short. Somehow it doesn't work out for him. But in the end, he comes out on top somehow or another. So voila. The shoot interview, behind the scenes of the creation of the Del Boy Diablo character. Where does it go from here? Fact of the matter is, without any of this, without any internet, without any social media, without any viral video, I still would have been doing the same thing. I still would have been getting deeper into the casuals culture, going to England. It's just by doing this, and a lot of people talking shit online or whatever. I've met so many people. I've had so much experiences in UK. Made family in Plymouth, in Cardiff, and I know I'm meant to go to loads of other places. Loads of other firms have invited me for a long time. So, no matter what, I'm still into the football culture. Apart from any characters, apart from any internet, terrorist culture, football hooliganism, football casual scene. Is it ever going to be in England or in UK like it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s? No, of course not. But the culture is still there. And it's uniquely English, British. So I love it. I love the clothes. I love the banter. And you're not meant to be friends with each other. You're really supposed to hate each other. They're all enemies anyway. So it's not like you're going to go out and be some big hero in the football casual scene. Unless you get to the point of the legends of the Caspennan and so forth, and the Carlton Leach and the Colin Blaney's, and even still you're going to have haters from other clubs because it's meant to be, it's built in rivalries. So, Del Boy Diablo, you've seen it from 2018 to 2023. Where do we go from here? I'm not certain. I've only yet begun.